Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. Today we've got a Barrett 98B in 308 Winchester. Barrett may have a reputation for large calibre, super long range rifles capable of withstanding battlefields, but it's nice to encounter one of the slightly lighter, comparatively delicate variants. The 98B field is similar in many respects to the MRAD I reviewed a few years ago, but for the single calibre format, even though it still uses the same black nylon inserts within the action to facilitate alternate bolt dimensions. Here's a good place to start, as whereas we have all become accustomed to the chassis rifle, that name, by derivation, is similar to the older form of car manufacture, where a passenger body shell was sat on top of a chassis carrying the mechanical running gear. Car design evolved to realise that the monocoque, a homogeneous encapsulating structure made from many hundreds of complex stampings, foldings and welded seams, made for a lighter, torsionally stiffer structure around which to make a vehicle roadworthy. The rifle is a slightly different, simpler structure in many ways, but I adopted the term monocoque to describe the MRAD, and the 98B is similar, as the build is entirely encapsulated and unique to Barrett, rather than a commercial REM 700 type footprint with twin screws fastening the mechanics to the human interaction surfaces. The Barrett is all in one from drawing board to rifleman's shoulder. The barrel has a 5/8 by 24 thread for moderator or brake. I fitted a Wildcat Evolution moderator straight away. It measures up at 18.1mm in diameter, reaching back 18 inches or 457mm to the breech face from the dished 11-degree crown. This 308 will never be the fastest gun, but it's certainly very well balanced and compact. An octagonal tubular forend surrounds the barrel, fully free floating with masses of M-lock slot accessory space to add whatever you like. Mine also included a flush cup sling mount on the left side, and I fitted a Harris bipod adapter stud underneath. This lighter build doesn't have the full-length upper Picatinny rail available on the MRAD in very similar SMR, and I like it for that. My intention to add forward thermal or night vision accessories is unlikely, and conversely, I like avoiding the weight and bulk that forces the scope higher than necessary on a full-length rail. The Picatinny rail present is exactly that, true specification, 180mm long, which is enough space for the likely large optic on standard rings, a bit like an AR-15. The upper and lower halves of the rifle are joined with a hinge pin just in front of the magazine well. This is rock solid, and the corresponding latch locking the upper and lower together is spaced 310mm rearward, just under the front of the cheek piece. Although requiring a bit of effort to separate, it certainly locks back in position like a bank vault door, ensuring long-term accuracy and reliability. You must unlatch it to draw the bolt out of the rifle, along with twin nylon inserts that enable exceptionally smooth bolt stroke and form a key design concept across the Barrett range of multi-caliber rifles with many functional benefits. These include precision cutout and feed ramp details for alternate cartridges and magazine sizes within the same monocoque from Barrett's own range of magazines for small and large cartridges. It's a simple yet functional system and clearly indicates significant R&D as well as financial investment from military contractors who have had to prove their kit in the toughest environments, with users not necessarily having the time for delicacy. Well, that ruggedness carries over here, yet rather impressively never feels brutishly agricultural. Quite refined in fact. The bolt has 9 lugs in 3 rows for short lift with a polymer knob on the 65mm handle, which paired to 175mm overall bolt length ensures correct leverage ratios. It avoids any jamming, which is already virtually impossible unless a foreign body is in place, and even then, in deserts I suspect it would still work, as the nylon sleeve will be somewhat sacrificial and easily replaced if worn by endless sand abrasion. The underside magazine is Barrett's proprietary polymer unit, holding 10 rounds in 2 columns, feeding from both sides. It can be loaded in or out of the gun, and there is enough space through the 102mm ejection port to finger feed individuals in place or perform a throw-in emergency backup shot if needed. Everything feeds cleanly to the chamber with no abrasion, just like the ammo in the mag itself, all gently restrained against chamfered edge polymers and not angular steel. There is an ambidextrous release catch on the front of the trigger guard, which has masses of space around the single stage trigger lever. This silver blade is 30mm long and 9mm wide, breaking at 1200 grams, which is 42 ounces. It is adjustable and on inspection shows purposefully machined components that are clearly a class apart in terms of long-term durability. Don't forget what these rifles have evolved from, and Barrett have taken no steps backward to cheapen matters, which is good as this one is still expensive. They seem to have little need of listing metallic surface treatments other than the aluminium chassis, which is cerakoted. Their reputation seems well imprinted in shooters' psyche, and so far I'm not finding any kind of aspirational myth. The pistol grip is reminiscent of an AR-15 in underslung position and shape, but not quite identical. It has got the usual short reach to blade of 65mm from the grip's throat, so you do feel further through the trigger guard, with the blade under your knuckle if not deliberately drawn back. The left side safety is a simple lever, up for safe without bolt lock, down for fire with firm detents to lock position. Like the tube it is, the monocoque withholds the bolt throughout its entire 140mm transit, the handle running in the right hand slot. The back end, above the latch, is where all the corners are smoothed off and the adjustable cheek piece nestles beyond, creating a comfortable headspace for you in operation. A starfish-like aluminium dial on the right side offers easy grip for tensioning position anywhere up to 34mm above its base level, with twin quick release anchor points for sling below. The cheek piece is 45mm wide with a radius top, and although broad, shows cutouts for your jawbone and feels a lot better welded than you may expect. If the gun were mine, I think I'd take out some spacers and maybe the gaffer tape to customise it a little bit, but that's just me. There is plenty of space for underside supporting hand and wrist without getting plonked during recoil. You get a 52mm Picatinny rail for a monopod or to use as a bag rider, with twin frontal surfaces that offer handhold locations, snugging the rifle's 16mm thick recoil pad into your shoulder. The broader heel of the pad tapers from 37mm down to 30mm at the toe, 125mm below it. I found it comfortable, and the medium soft rubber compound moulded and gripped well into clothing in the shoulder without feeling spongy. Length of pull was fixed at 13 3/8 of an inch, which is 340mm. This is a little bit short for me, but seemed to feel longer on this compact rifle. The butt pad is removable on twin screws and spacers will add to this if necessary. The rifle was supplied with a Sightmark Scope and rings. So other than the moderator addition, it was a straightforward trip to the range after cleaning the barrel. The underside unlocking button is flush with the stock and won't get accidentally operated. Once confident, the process isn't too bad, it just feels aggressive at first, heaving the upper with the bolt handle with your underside hand pressing the unlock button. Once done, the bolt pulls straight out, as will the nylon spacers if necessary. This actually makes the rifle very easy to bore scope, probably the easiest ever in fact, and of course you don't need to adjust your cheek piece for bolt removal or cleaning, so we'll never lose position. The handling dynamics of this bolt location are worth it, and I like the solidity, far more than I dislike the action opening effort. Results on target were immediately ammunition dependent. I do not think a finer bullet has ever been made for any rifle cartridge than the 168 grain boat tail hollow point in 308. A match made somewhat in heaven. These things just seem right, and certainly did here too. Advertised muzzle velocity on the Hornady box was 2,700 feet per second, with the short barrel 98B producing 2,659 of those. The groups were immediately capable and just cloverleaf 10 rounds at 100 metres, and I only stopped at 10 because the mag was physically empty, where I only ever usually run 5 even on a heavy barrel. I repeated 5 more rounds at 200 and then 300 metres to see similarly appealing real-world groups of superb standing from factory ammunition. It's interesting to note the air temperature was 22 degrees with virtually zero wind, and 20 rounds get the barrel very hot. Barrett's barrel was seemingly impervious, and frankly, although this gun isn't winning a bench rest match, it's not bench rest rifle or cartridge, and frankly, just exudes an air of confidence which transfers to the shooter. Overall verdict is that this is one of my favourite Barretts, with everything mechanically good and not too much bulk to lug around every day. The thermal stability of the barrel was genuinely impressive, and you need to factor in how tough Barretts are, but it's a very expensive rifle, although quite uniquely rare and unusual in the UK. Specifications: calibre 308, overall length 990mm 39 inches, barrel length 457mm 18 inch with a 1 in 10 twist rate, weight 4.25 kilograms 9.36 pounds. Stock material 7000 series Cerakoted aluminium. Magazine capacity 10+1. Trigger single stage adjustable unit set at 1200 grams pull weight. RRP UK £6,950.